Today is Saturday, May 10th, and we welcome you back to the Frozen Edge, your home for daily NHL betting picks and a dig into the analysis behind the NHL betting market to help you craft those picks, parlays, and more here. Joined with former NHL senior manager of analytics, Timo Seppa. I am Casey Ditzel. Timo, what's happening?
Not much, Casey. Ready to go. We had some good games last night, some more on the slate for tonight.
A pair of bounce backs, both sides between Florida getting one in the series and Winnipeg tying it up. And let's start on the Florida-Toronto side. An exciting game, and it looked like Toronto was going to win the series outright at one point there, a 2-0 early lead. But credit the bounce back the Florida Panthers showed. It took overtime, and who else to finish it off but Brad Marchand, who has owned the Toronto Maple Leafs. Far from being over and far from Florida advancing, but they've at least gotten themselves back in the hunt. It's now 2-1 in that series.
Yeah, not surprising, right, that the game-winning goal came from that big-time Florida third line. We talked about that yesterday, about the impact that they had in the Tampa series, how they took that over. And, you know, we questioned whether Florida needed scoring from their top lines. As it turns out, in any case, the third line, Marchand has the game winner in overtime. Big time goal, but another game that could have gone either way, right? Florida with a comeback there to tie it up. One of the big storylines of the game were the weird bounces in front that the goaltenders did not have much of a chance to stop. 2 goals for each team coming off of weird bounces. You got any thoughts on the goaltending last night? What's that make the goaltending lines look like?
Well, that's right where I wanted to go next and ask your thoughts on the analytics side. I was with ECAC goaltender of the year, Ethan Langenegger, last night, and I kind of asked him because we've been talking a lot about the stats being down on the goaltending side, some of these big name guys, especially Bobrovsky. And at that point, with 3 goals against on Bobrovsky, where 2 of them were very strange off the defense and kind of no chance for the goaltender. And as you mentioned, 2 on both sides there. And one thing he said is that's the tough thing on judging goaltenders, specifically on goals against and save percentage, is things like that are going to happen. So I wanted to kind of bring that one up, and in that side of the thoughts coming from a well-touted NCAA goaltender's perspective, what would the argument analytically be against that, would you say?
Yeah, a few thoughts on that, and that's great insight from Ethan there. And yeah, in a single game, bounces happen, right? So I mean, we'll get into the other game tonight as well. Hellebuyck has a shutout, but a couple pucks hit the iron there. Just a few bounces every game. The pucks hitting the iron make a stellar game look like a good game look like a mid game look like a terrible game. So that's going to happen in the small sample of a game over the course of weeks, over the course of a season. You would think that those things would generally even out. What I would say, just as far as like very general conventional stats, the analytics movement in general kind of look down on goals against average kind of like very quickly. Goals against average is going to be something that's going to be driven by how many shots against a goaltender has. So that's going to be very driven by what the puck possession is, how many shots get through. So safe percentage isn't something that's perfect, but safe percentage is something that a goaltender has a lot more control over than goals against average as far as conventional stats.
Florida Panthers made some significant changes to the lineup. What stood out to you about some of those switches they made up?
Yeah, that was certainly talked about a lot on the broadcast. Our boy Nico Sturm was not in the lineup. I don't know that that's his fault. I think he's a great penalty killer, great face-off man. But I get that from Paul Maurice's point of view. If he's got three other guys that he can run in there that are going to be roughly equivalent, and you're going to have a fresh look of fresh guys and give the team a jolt. It's a little bit like making a goaltending change when you're down a couple goals in the middle of a game just to jolt your team, and not so much because you thought the goalie was so bad, but maybe the team takes that as like meaning that they need to bring their game up. So as far as that kind of a move from Paul Maurice, much as I like Nico Sturm, I get that, and you could certainly argue that maybe it did a little for Florida.
On the Winnipeg-Dallas side, Mikko Rantanen's hat trick streak has come to a close, and for that matter, his goal streak, and no goals for the Dallas Stars as a whole team. A shutout win for the Winnipeg Jets. They tie the series up 1-1, and the Lowry goal was something that stood out specifically to you.
Yeah, the third goal with Adam Lowry, and we were both looking at the video and trying to figure out exactly who touched the initial shot. We were talking yesterday, right? We were talking about some of the stats that we had gotten from Stathletes ahead of the series, and one of the big ways that Winnipeg generates their offense is on tips and deflections, and we definitely saw that in this game. But it almost looked like Lowry got a tip on that initial shot from the point before he beat the puck to the other side of the goal on the rebound and potted in really what was an easy rebound. The NHL play-by-play shows that the puck was blocked by Lyubushkin, partial block there. We'd have to go in and have the folks at NHL Stats check the detail tracking to see if they might pick up a touch by somebody else. But that's certainly how it's tracked, at least at this point, that it was a partial block by the Dallas player. But just kind of amazing that Lowry is on one side of the ice, either tipping or almost tipping that puck. Certainly putting that in Ottinger's head that it could be going off of him before pivoting, getting to the other side of the net and putting in the goal. I thought that was fantastic.
Winnipeg with a 4-0 victory, and that is a 1-1 series. Another series tied at 1 will be happening tonight at 6 p.m. Carolina and Washington as the Capitals pick up the split in Game 2. A 3-1 win capped off by Tom Wilson's outstanding performance. We talked a little bit about that yesterday, but now the series shifts to Carolina and Raleigh, where the Canes have been so dominant. Looking at the lines, Washington is the underdog on the road, plus 164, minus 160 on the spread. Carolina minus 200 to pick up the money line win. Minus 1.5 on the spread is plus 130. During the regular season, Carolina won both of the games against the Capitals at the Lenovo Center. Both wins were by 2 goals, covering the spread. In the postseason under Rod Brind'Amour since 2020 and 21, Carolina is 22-9 at home. And Timo, why is that so much of an advantage for Carolina, specifically when they're at home? Because when you look at the road record, it's much different. But at home, they're almost a guarantee to pick up wins.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't have a full explanation on that. I mean, other than you could look at the advantage that the crowd gives you. You could look at the advantage of, does that home crowd, slightly influence the referees? The thing that you obviously look at the most as far as an advantage of being at home is being able to play matchups. So if Rod Brind'Amour has checking lines, they have two-way lines, certain matchups that you have to shut down the opponent's scoring lines. I would say that that's probably the biggest likely explanation for why Carolina's been good at home.
Seth Jarvis was a name that you brought up going into this series, one of the leaders on the Hurricanes in points and goals. And this is a game that I specifically have my eyes on him. Carolina, when Seth Jarvis scores a goal, is 69, 5 and 5 all time. And that's almost a 90% win percentage. And specifically this season on home ice, Jarvis has 25 of his 32 goals this season, and that's in just 39 games. Anytime goal for Seth Jarvis is plus 170, and that would correlate with potentially a Carolina Hurricanes win. So if you're looking to go that way, Jarvis has scored a lot at home and has boosted his team looking forward. Carolina is known for their possession game, the shot volume. We saw that work in game one. What are some things that work and maybe some things that might not work as we look forward to game three?
Yeah. So I wanted to talk like a little bit deeper about Carolina and possession game, shot volume game. Heard that from me. Probably if you know me, you've heard that from me for years. But certainly the media has the broadcasts have picked up on that a lot. I guess my overall, like, my deeper question here about Carolina is this is the overall strategy here. Let's call it the Eric Tulsky strategy, even from back when he was an analytics guy and an AGM before he was a GM, is picking up a bunch of solid players that are good at puck possession, that are good at this shot volume game, but like missing out on the top end guys. Is that a strategy that'll let you crush it in the regular season and maybe in a round or two of the playoffs, but you're missing those couple of top end guys that'll put you over at the top in the playoffs? Yeah, they're starting to get those top end guys that maybe they didn't have before with Aho or Svechnikov or whoever else. So I mean, like, it's a little different than it was before. And I guess, like, I want you to jump in here in a second, Casey. The other thing that I would point out for the overall strategy, if you're looking for an analytics strategy, would be on goaltending. So the analytics thinking for 15 years out there has been the fact that goaltending is the most variable talent statistic from year to year. If you look at somebody like Mike Smith, who crushed it the year that Phoenix or Arizona, whatever they're called back then, made it to the conference finals, he was by far the most impactful player in the regular season that year. But you look at the next season, he regressed to just kind of like an average goaltender. So that's part of the thinking with analytics, is you'd rather get a couple of pretty good goaltenders, get them on the cheap, and put your money on everything else. And I would argue that that is another strategy of Carolina's, that you could say that they are missing that true superstar goaltending, where this is something that is made to let you crush it in the regular season, crush it in the early rounds of the playoffs, and maybe not succeed past that. Casey, you are an avid Carolina Hurricanes fan, I hear. What's your thinking on any of what I said here?
Well, it might just be because of that, but I've talked about this a lot on a couple of my shows, and I am avidly against overpaying for goaltenders, and especially with the salary cap. I think if you spend that 11.75 million, 12 million to go get a guy like Igor Shesterkin in the future, I think that hurts your opportunity to get those top end scores. And I think that's the weakness in Carolina's lineup. I think Jake Gensel last offseason was a huge missed opportunity. Obviously, Mikko Rantanen didn't work out, but I thought that was a good move moving away from him because he didn't want to be there. That's the one thing I do think they need. And going into this year, I think Carolina has well overperformed what the expectation has been, because this wasn't supposed to be a Stanley Cup year. All of a sudden here, 2 games into round two, they have aspirations to potentially get there. Obviously, they still have a ways to go here, but I like the goaltending tandem they have. I was surprised they re-signed Anderson, but I thought Kochetkov going to be the future. 27, 6-3 in 47 games played in the regular season. Anderson 13, 8-1. He's been their playoff guy. He's 4-1 with a 1.45 goals against average. So it's hard to argue that the goaltending hasn't been good enough. I really don't think the goaltending's been the reason they've gotten bounced. And when you look at the reasons they've lost over the last few years, it's really because the offense has dried up. So I think that's what they're missing rather than I really like going out getting a couple solid goaltenders at that low AAV. Uh, but they need the goaltending to be excellent because of that missing factor. You're on the opposite side of that a little bit though.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, like you like their goaltenders, and that sounds like you drinking the Kool-Aid there. I
Might
mean,
be.
their regular season numbers both slightly sub 900 save percentage. I mean, I realize we're back to a relatively high scoring era in the NHL, so we no longer have 915 as like the average save percentage of a goalie like we had 10 years ago. I get that. Those are below average save percentages, and clearly they're winning games despite that. But Freddie Anderson, good in the playoffs so far, at least statistically with a 925 save percentage. We'll see where we go from here.
Game 2 kicks off at 6 p.m. Our picks: Carolina on the spread at minus 1.5. Seth Jarvis anytime goal. Let's move it on to the late game, 9 p.m. tonight. Vegas and Edmonton. Game 3 as Edmonton returns home with a 2-0 series lead. They are the favorite tonight, minus 125. The spread at plus 186 for Vegas, plus 104 odds. So pretty close to a pick 'em here. Minus 235 on the spread at plus 1.5 for the Golden Knights. The Oilers now have an NHL record, just as we predicted in game 2. It was Vegas scoring first, an early goal in that game, but now 6 consecutive playoff games where the Oilers have trailed and come back to win. That is a postseason record. And since the start of the 2024 playoffs, the Oilers have been dominant on home ice. They are 9-3, which includes that run to the Stanley Cup final that made it to Game 6 this season in the 2025 playoffs. 3-0 through round 1. This their first game of round 2 coming back home. But Vegas has dropped 2 in a row. It's hard to keep beating a team, and Vegas has a pretty good bounce back record when they've lost 2 straight this season.
Yeah, we gave you the numbers the last couple of days for how teams did coming back from a loss. As far as teams coming back from losing 2 games in a row, that happened to Vegas a number of times this regular season where they lost 2 or more games in a row. They're 9-5 after losing 2 games in a row. So that is a moderately strong sign that they might bounce back and win this next game. Also, they're 1-0 in that case so far in the playoffs. They won after 2-game losing streak against Minnesota. So, one modestly good sign for Vegas there.
Couple of player props we have our eyes on. Shots on goal looking at over 2.5. Connor McDavid sits at minus 175 on the betting charts. He has recorded at least 3 shots on goal in 5 of the last 6 playoff games. Game 2, he had 7 shots on goal, 6 of them coming from high danger, and he was one of our picks to find the back of the net last game. This is just the second time this season McDavid has gone 5 straight games without a goal. He now returns home plus 140 for a Connor McDavid anytime goal. Zach Hyman, another guy that could be prone to hit the over in the shot count, looking at the over 2.5 shots. He's at plus money at plus 125. Goals in 2 of his last 3 games, recorded an assist in game 2. 19 of his 27 regular season goals came at home. So kind of a similar line to Seth Jarvis. If you want to go on the side of Hyman picking up a point, minus 132 there, plus 210 for a goal. Timo, any of those speaking to you? Those kind of go against the Vegas side. One more I'll add in there. Jack Eichel, not great odds to pick up a point, but to have over 1.5 points, so 2 points or more, is plus money there. Eichel has 4 points over the first 2 games in this series.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I'm biting on any of those. I think they're all intriguing and they're not bad. Do I think Eichel is over 1.5? No, I guess so. But all reasonable props to go at.
So you could go the other way, Eichel to have under the 1.5. The over-under for this game is set at 5.5. Stats trending towards the Vegas plus 104 on the money line. And any of those player props could be in play tonight. Timo, final thoughts as we wrap it up here, looking towards these two games on tonight's slate.
Yeah, just as a hockey fan, I don't have a favorite team between Edmonton and Vegas. Certainly would make for another interesting series if Vegas picks up a game here. We'd have a lot of these series be developing into interesting longer series if that happens.
Well, every team has picked up a win so far, except Vegas, and Vegas will try to make it 2-1, just as Florida did last night. We will wait and see. That is a 9 o'clock game. The slate opens at 6 p.m. with Carolina and Washington. Timo and I will be back again tomorrow with more picks, props, and parlays for you. He's Timo Seppa. I'm Casey Ditzel. This has been The Frozen Edge, and until tomorrow, have a good one, everybody.